Welcome to Disruption and Kindness. I'm Travis Swearengen, and I'm here with Caleb Monroe.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about brands, businesses, and how they impact culture. What's up, man?
No, dude. It feels good being consistent with the podcast. It feels good making the time, carving it out. And I know I'm about to go on vacation here in about a week. And so even though there was a little bit of disruption, we're front loading these two episodes, recording today for 14 and 15 so that we can make sure that we, stay on schedule.
Yeah, today is a maximum effort day for you guys because, like Caleb said, he's going to be out for a week. And so we realized after recording last episode that we promised you guys consistency, and we wanted to launch that episode. So now we got to do two in one day. I think you'd be surprised to know how many people record all their content in advance. It's kind of a common thing, kind of a behind the curtain thing for you there. But
it's very smart to record it all in advance. That way, when you need to go out to South Carolina for your Nana's 90th birthday, that you can take care of Nana and you can keep the podcast rolling.
Yeah, you get podcast and you get Nana.
Nothing better.
Nothing better. Yeah, but so Caleb and I were talking yesterday just about how we start these shows. And I guess the last 13 episodes, we kind of like start the show just talking about how we're doing. And sometimes that goes into like what we're learning in business. And sometimes that veers towards like more, personal things or whatever. And we felt like that was valuable for you guys to get to know us. But we're trying to find ways to cram more value into the show and make every single minute relevant and valuable to you guys. So one thing we're going to be changing up is as we start these shows, we want to talk about what we're learning in business. And that can mean all kinds of things. It can mean something we're dealing with like personal growth. That could mean meetings we're having with clients. That could mean concepts we're reading about in books or in courses or whatever else. We want to kind of show you that Caleb and I are committed to learning forever, right? And just continuing to hone our craft. And so we want to kind of every week let you in on like what are we studying that week? What are we improving on that week? So when we talk about client meetings or prospect meetings, we call them discovery meetings, and we learn about a business's problem. We might even be discussing that a little bit, but we're not gonna get into like who said what, who's doing what. Like our heart behind it is we're just genuinely rooting for all the people that come into our door, and we want to share the insights we've learned from those conversations and maybe help somebody at home that's going through this that hasn't had the opportunity to come by the office or hop on a discovery call, like on a video call or something with Caleb and I, because we're business owners at heart. We're small business owners in reality, and so we are one of you guys. And so there's nothing that makes Caleb and I, happier than taking care of small business owners. So we feel like this might be a better usage of our time, So
yeah, I agree. I think that part of running an agency and what's super interesting about the perspectives that we get is how many hundreds of businesses in various industries that we get a chance to touch. And while it can be cool to know, hey, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what's going on in my personal life, I think it's much more interesting for us to peel back the curtain a little bit on how Monsoon processes things, actual projects that we're working on right now with people, hurdles that we're having to overcome as business owners. I think that's really where we're wanting to dive into. So I know that you and I both, from chatting yesterday, went away just kind of saying, hey, what is this week? What's relevant? What's something that stuck out to us? Because like you said, we're still learning. I want to always be learning. As soon as we stop learning, we die, is my perspective. As soon as we stop learning, we're stagnant. Our business is suffering because we're refusing to grow. We're refusing to adapt. We're refusing to learn. And I don't want I don't want that to be the narrative. So, yeah, what did you come away with this week? What stuck out to you, bro?
So I've got a client that I've been working with for over a year now. And probably every few weeks, the conversation veers towards frustration or insecurity or fear because they're not going fast enough, right? So it's this idea of like, well, we should be $1 million company by now. We should have already hit seven figures. This thing has so much potential. Why haven't we made enough yet? We've only made this much amount of money, right? Mm-hmm. So, this company was, the CEO has been upset that he hadn't crossed that 7-figure threshold line yet in, the few years they've even been operating. And I kept telling them like, hey, like, there is an element to all of this that supersedes strategy, that supersedes like, solid business acumen, and that's time. And like sometimes like the factor is that like you haven't been in business long enough to see the success that you want to see. Like there is a factor of time. Well, last year he made like, a little over $500,000. And, he naturally he wasn't satisfied with that, but this month he made $500,000 6 months later.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you just keep plugging away, you will get there. Do not give up. Like, yes, you need solid marketing strategies and tactics. You need great offers. I believe you need good branding to stand out from your competition. But in reality, it's not going to happen overnight. It might not even happen in the first few years, right? So if you're discouraged about where you're at, but you're doing the right things and are showing up and you're stepping out onto the field and you're playing as hard as you can and you're constantly learning and you're constantly growing, then in my opinion, the variable the variable is time. The factor is time,
Yeah, it's so true. And to be honest, when we do these discovery meetings, a lot of our bread and butter, we're working with startups. A lot of our bread and butter, we're working with very young, small businesses who are just jumping out in an area that they see potential and they're excited about. And I think the main factor on success is how much runway have these companies given themselves? Like, how much runway do you have to actually learn this, jump into a field in an industry, find the bottlenecks and the problems that are happening inside of that industry and make pivots? Because so few businesses work from our initial like perception of what it's going to go down like. I think that most business owners, when they start out, they're hungry, they're visionary, they're ambitious, and like they're willing to jump out, and that's awesome. But they're also seeing what I call like from peak to peak. They're on the mountain peak right now in the dreaming phase of starting a business, and it is very, very easy on top of the mountain to see to the other peak, to see right across the way, to see that success point, to see that 7 figures that guy was talking about. It is so easy to see when you're on top of that dreaming phase and there's no problems and nothing's going wrong. But the reality is day one of your business starts, week one of your business starts, and you begin to make the journey down the slope. And things get hard and bottlenecks start happen. And the other peak that you saw, that 7-figure dream, it starts to look like less and less possible. You start to lose it in the middle of the valley. And that's where a lot of businesses die, is when they realize, oh, there was hardship. Oh, there's an entire part of this business where it's not just, I'm just going to float it because I believed it. Just because I spoke it into the universe, it's going to happen. There's an entire journey up the other side of the mountain. There's an entire journey through obstacles and cutting a path to get up to that 7 figures. And the main factor is time. The main factor is giving yourself patience and grace and enough runway where you're not harming yourself or your family financially to be able to pivot, innovate, learn, and master this industry so that people can know you, they can like you, and they can trust you. And that takes time. It takes time.
Well, and it's like, what is time actually affecting, right? I think time is actually affecting your skill sets or your character traits, right? So you can come in to like a new business, like say you've been in the industry for a while, whatever you've been involved with, and you could be stepping out on your own to start your own company, and it's still taking forever, even though you're an actual expert. right? So what is that time developing? It might be developing your character and making you into a better leader or a better, a better business owner, or it might be making you into a better salesperson. Maybe you've got a lot of expertise in what you do, but maybe you don't have a lot of sales experience. And so like time is developing you as a salesperson, right? Like, so, in this moment, it's like, hey, what am I needing to develop? What is going to take time? Is it my character traits? Do I not have discipline where I need to have discipline? Am I too impatient? And like time is developing patience in me, because patience is required to succeed in business.
Yeah.
Or is it, maybe I don't know, maybe I don't know enough about sales. Maybe my marketing's bad because I'm not a marketer, and maybe there's something that I'm missing there. I need to develop that skill set, right? Time is going to develop your skills or your character traits, and you need those things both in check to succeed.
Completely agree. I love it.
What about you? What are you learning?
Yeah, I think this has been an interesting one. This week we got approached by a client who had a poor experience with a previous agency. To be honest, it's a very normal story when people come and talk to us. They're frustrated with another web designer. They're frustrated with another agency. They feel taken advantage of. And we have to go through the process of rebuilding that trust. Right. We have to go through the process of communicating through. But what's really interesting is that sometimes our clients just have other agencies that they're attached to, that they're in love with, but that agency doesn't do everything, which, to be honest, is a sign of a very healthy agency to me, if they're not saying that they can do literally everything under the sun. Because chances are most agencies, from my perspective, are good at 2 to 3 things. And they can do other things, but they're like really, really good at 2 to 3 things that they can carry. I think that proficiency and expertise, unless they're scaling massively and they're huge, is pretty impossible for smaller agencies that have 5 to 10 people on staff. But I think what I learned through this process is we got a phone call. We started to get vetted by the other agency, which I love. I love having these conversations. I love it when an agency is going to bat for a customer to make sure that they're partnering with great people. But in the middle of that, there's such an interesting dynamic that happens when 2 different agencies who maybe bleed over in certain aspects, like jump onto the same project. There's always that testing each other out part. Are you going to take advantage of me? Are you actually good? Are you going to benefit this? Are you going to be a problem for this project? Or there's always that kind of testing each other out and vetting that ends up happening. And so I think I want to just communicate me again, realizing and falling in love with this idea that there's so much work out there that Monsoon doesn't really have competition in the way that we're really concerned about other agencies, or we're really concerned about somebody getting a bid instead of us. There's so much work that's out there and available. And I think that we love having other agencies come to the table. As long as they have the client's best in mind and they're doing excellent work, we love working with other agencies. And to be honest, I love finding agency partnerships where maybe they're rock stars at social media and social media posting, and that's not something that Monsoon wants to be. Monsoon's not wanting to jump into copywriting and doing a bunch of posts on social media on behalf of a business. We're definitely wanting to steer into the creative. We're more than happy to design the posts, the graphics. We're more than happy to shoot the video or take the photos for those posts. But as far as the actual managing of a social media platform, commenting for clients and doing other stuff that way, that's not our game. But finding other agencies that we can trust, that we can refer, that do that work, that's something that we're always interested in. And so for this agency that we met with, they're rock stars. It looks like the work that they do is super solid. They're taking care and attention with the client that we're talking to, but they don't necessarily do websites. And again, that's a great point for us. Websites is our strong suit, one of the ones that we really do well. And so for us to be able to have a referral partner that they can refer websites to, that they know we're going to knock it out of the park, is a win-win. It's a win-win for us to be able to offload work that they love, that we don't, and for them to offload work that they don't love, that we do. So I think that's what I learned this week, is just reaffirming this idea that I think agencies don't have to be competition. Agencies don't have to be overly concerned about getting taken advantage of or having stuff happen. And will there be horror stories? Sure. But I think that at the end of the day, like our name of our podcast, kindness is going to win out. At the end of the day, the person who is the most vulnerable, most open with the client is able to just talk about the best strategy whether they're the best fit or not, is going to create that trust, is going to build that relationship, and is going to win out in the end. Firm believer in that.
Totally. Well, actually, let's unpack that a little further, because I mean, how many business owners have you had, conversations with where they're just like talking all kinds of crap about their competitors, right? That's just
almost every single one.
right. Exactly. Like they're constantly looking at what their competition's doing, and they're not focusing on optimizing their own business. They're so worried about the other competitor that they're not looking at, like, how am I utilizing my time? How am I utilizing my staff or my finances? What does my discipline look like? What do my skill sets look like? You're like, rather than focusing on those things, and doing the things that only you can do in your business, or finding the 20% of inputs to give you the 80% of outputs. So instead of looking for those things and trying to optimize your life and your company, you're so focused on your competition because you're scared.
Yep.
You're afraid, when in reality, the world is abundant, right? Like there is more than enough business in the United States for every single agency in our city to succeed. So I'm not scared. I'm not worried about what other companies are doing in Lubbock. I don't care. Like it's not even a thought in my mind, because it's like, I know the world is abundant. I know that we can just get more customers. I know that if we continue to, again, put our nose to the grindstone, take the time that it requires to be successful, like we're going to have, like the best agency that we can build. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a perspective on, and I think it requires a pretty big shift away from fear. I think that we have to tackle fear as business owners. I think that a lot of times when Travis and I are talking about finding that bottleneck that's in your business, I would say 80% of the time, the bottleneck is you. 80% of the time, the bottleneck is your mindset. It's your processes. It's the way that you're forcing people to do things that aren't getting the best out of your employees, that aren't building client relationships. Like the bottleneck is usually a mindset that I put into place, where the amounts of times I've been slapped myself in the head and been like, Caleb, like, it's you. Like you're the one that's holding this back. Like you're the one that's like trying to be hyper perfectionistic, but instead of just posting, instead of just putting your work out there, you're the one that is like letting fear operate inside of his heart. Instead of, and even when I was having that conversation with the other agency, there were moments where I wanted to give into that fear, to withhold, to not share, to not be open, to not try and build a relationship with this brand new company that I hadn't had, right? And I'm not giving away industry secrets necessarily, but there were definitely moments where I was like, oop, I may need to protect myself. Like, oop, this may not be safe. Like that I have to just reject. And when you start to reject the fear and you start to realize, like, the clients that we have that come in that are hyper fixated on their competition, are super concerned by it. They're yielding so much emotional energy and so much time and mental energy to something that they have no control over.
Right.
You guys, you cannot control your competition. You can't force them to do things. Like instead of looking at it, so I think a lot of it gets born out of like a moment where they feel like they saw their competition, or their competition came out with an offer that seems better to them than theirs, or maybe they lost out on a bid, client feedback saying, hey, I went to another source instead of you. But what fear will end up doing is it twists it into saying, I need to focus on the problem. The threat is my competition, instead of realizing that the problem is me. What caused that client to walk away? What caused that offer? How are they able to operate their business compared to mine? And so I think it's so healthy to shift the focus away from your competition and towards what you can actually focus on. It should drive you towards, every time a client leaves, having a conversation with them and saying, hey, what happened? Like, how did we lose your business? Have that conversation, have that point blank, hear from them directly on what caused it, and then innovate, pivot. You work on yourself to where you can say, hey, this was a bad touch point. And granted, there's outliers. You can't satisfy everybody. You're not going to need to make pivots to your business every time somebody leaves. But I think walking away with a mentality on, I can make my company better, I can improve the systems that are here. I can improve my mindsets that are here, and I can operate in a healthy way. I think that that's so much more healthy for your business, and your emotional energy and your time is so much better suited to working in your business instead of thinking about every threat that's outside your business.
Totally. I mean, the worst thing you can do in that scenario. So like, let's say there's a customer that is saying like, you know what, I'm going to go to a different service provider this time. What some guys will do is they will get a bad attitude with the customer. They'll act hurt. They'll act frustrated. They'll talk crap about the competitor. Like they'll try and warn them. Like, don't do that. Don't have a sour attitude about it. Be nice. Take the high road, find out like what their honest feedback is on why they're going somewhere else. It might be something that you did wrong. It might be something you just don't offer that they do.
Right.
And that's good feedback, because now you're like, oh, well, maybe I should expand out into that. But our company's not perfect. We've had customers walk away. We certainly have. And we have met them with grace in that moment. And we've been like kind, and we've gotten feedback, and we've actually had a lot of these customers return because we've always taken care of them, and they know how committed we are to them. And so like we've definitely had clients come right back into the fold, no problem. They're like, oh, I'm really glad I'm working with you guys again, because we had a good attitude. We made adjustments. We didn't make them feel bad for leaving or stupid. We told them they can come back anytime. Like, we just didn't get crummy with them. And like they came back, and we didn't lose them as a referral source, and we didn't lose them as a customer long-term, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But I promise you that if you meet that customer that's walking away with a bad attitude, or with jealousy, or with like, if you let your fear take over in that moment, or your frustration, or your anger, like if your competition makes you angry, they're going to pick up on it, and you're just going to literally validate everything they're saying. You might be a bad professional you might show them you're the bad professional they think you are, or you might just be validating their head. Well, man, like I actually am really glad I'm leaving, because this guy is acting like a complete jerk about this. Like, you got to remember that your customer, they're just trying to provide for their families. They're just trying to make a way for their future too. And so, when you take the time right before you have these conversations with people, and remember that they're just human beings, right? They're just humans. Like, your mentality on that conversation is going to go so much more positively than if you're just like focusing only on, I have to retain them, Yeah,
I think fear and how it operates on the front end of relationships, when you're first doing discovery meeting stuff and sales, and on the back end when a client says, hey, I want to go test out another service, or I want to go try something else, or hey, we need to run down how much I'm billing you. Like, fear and how it operates, it's always going to manifest itself as control.
Right.
And you're going to try and control the relationship. And it's the worst thing that you can do if you're trying to actually grow your business, is to make your clients feel like you're trying to control the relationship. Right. I think on the front end, that control is going to look like pushiness. You're going to really be after them. You're going to really hound them, instead of kind of learning from them and learning their rhythms and just making brief touch points. You're going to be pushy. You're going to call them constantly. You're going to want that sale, and all it's communicating to the client is, whoa, this guy cares so much more about the money than he does actually my company and my time. And so I think that you can scare clients away if you're operating from a position of fear, where you're looking at your bank account and you're saying, we need a sale right now. Right. The worst thing that you can do is give into that fear and try and push, because all you're going to do is push people away. I think that on the back end as well, control is going to manifest it when a client's like, hey, I think I'm going to go try out your competitor. They made a really great offer. Been great working with you. The worst thing that you can do is to try and make as much money on the exit of that relationship. And we've seen a lot of competition do this, where they will literally hold websites hostages. They will have these moments where they're essentially ransoming away. So because the fear is, oh, these people are gone and they're never coming back. I need to make as much as I can right now. because they don't care about me, so I don't care about them, and I'm going to lash out that way. I'm going to try and strangle to keep them here. I'm going to tell them that they leave without their website, and I'm going to control the relationship, and I'm not going to give them choice. And I think that in any other relationship context, if you guys are dating somebody that is super pushy on the front end or very controlling, and you don't actually have choice to leave a relationship, that's called abuse. Like, and anybody that will never feel good, that will never cause somebody to come back. I think that the more open that you are, the more understanding that you are of their situation, the more we had a client who loved us, who just because of an industry downturn ended up having to shut down services, and it wasn't anything that they could control, and they really enjoyed us. And so we walked away, we shut stuff down, we made sure that they were in a great spot, and we shook their hands and we said, hey, listen, if stuff changes, like, we're excited to work with you again, you know? And I think it's that whole really cheesy, if you love them, let them go vibe. But I think the more open that you're willing to be with somebody, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember how you made them feel when they left. They're going to remember that, like, that client who's letting you know that they're done with you, that's a hard conversation for them. And the more that we can have grace for them, the more that we can understand where they're coming from and have empathy in that moment, the greater chance of them remembering, they understood me. This is how they made me feel. And like Travis said, we have a large percentage of people who walk away for various reasons that end up coming back to Monsoon. And I think it's just a really big testament to how we made them feel throughout the process.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, because it's like you're probably not going to like stop them from leaving, right? They're going to do their thing.
No, there's no way you can.
You can't. So you might as well leverage it in a positive way. You might as well make it another opportunity for them to interact with your brand in a positive way than to just like affirm their decision to leave. Like you saying, oh, you're going to go to X agency. You're going to go to that, I don't know, roofing company. You're going to go to that cleaning company. You're going to go to like that pharmacy, that, whatever company it is. I've actually heard these things. Like all you're doing, you're not running interference. You're not changing their mind. Like you are literally just affirming in their brain that they're making the right decision. And a confused mind does not buy, right? A confused mind never buys. So you don't want, like, all you're doing is making them more confused about you rather than like just continuing to be affirming, continuing to be kind, continuing to have excellence, and kind of making them like leave the conversation going, oh man, like I really wish I maybe hadn't done this to Caleb. You know what I mean? Maybe I could have worked this out with Caleb. Maybe I could have worked this out with Travis. Maybe I could have worked this out with, X transportation company. I'm gonna miss working with them. They were really, really cool about that. Yeah.
And hear me out too. If this is something that the client comes to and says, hey, this isn't working out, that's not your opportunity to say, great, let's go. Like, get out of my business. Like, that's not the moment. Like, if they're saying, hey, this isn't working out, definitely address concerns with them. Definitely take every opportunity to pivot and to make things right, to understand pain points they're having with your company and seeing if it's something that you can salvage and you can address, right? Like, that's not being pushy. That's actually showing them that you care about the feedback that they're giving you. But if they've made a decision to pivot to a different company, like, don't hold their stuff hostage. Don't pay them in pennies. Don't drag stuff out. Don't be petty. Like have every opportunity to have grace to make this as easy of a transition as possible. Because I think if you're willing to let people go, the amount of safety that they feel to maintain control of their company is huge for them wanting to come back and feeling still safe with your company.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely agree. So like this week we had another really interesting meeting with they're a cleaning company, and they are in this, process where they've started this business. They're doing every single thing is like analog. Do you want to discuss that at all?
This guy is an expert, okay? This guy is solid. And what makes him solid inside of his industry, his ability to, like, foster relationships, not just with his crew that is working, but with also the clients, and his ability to navigate both of those worlds really effortlessly. Like, he's just a trustworthy guy. You meet this dude, he's just solid. You shake his hand, he's a rock star, and you can tell that you just want to work with him. Like, I just want to work with him too. Like, I'm just excited. He walked in, sat down, and he's just a solid guy. And I think that those people, business is going to follow them really, really well. But almost every company that walks through the doors, they are masters, experts in their industry at what their knowledge speciality is. And for him, it's people, it's sales, it's construction, it's managing crews, and doing that work. It's not on the technology side. It's not in the digital space. And so as this company has grown, as they're putting out a lot of money right now and numbers right now, he's got like 4 different crews that are running around. Like, he's doing really good work. The amount of work and effort that it's being put on his shoulders to do the project management by himself, to do the invoicing by himself, to drive around with vast amounts of cash in his pockets and feel weirdly unsafe about how he's getting paid off of these jobs. Like, there's moments that are creating pain points for him. And it's a situation where, as a business owner, even massive success can cause problems. Even massive success can be a bottleneck or a detriment if you don't have good systems in place.
Right.
And we say this all the time between the two of us, but we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall, to the level of our systems. And I think that this is a situation where your systems and what you have in place is only going to help facilitate even more growth, allow them to expand faster. Because when you start out as a business owner, it's just you wear so many hats, and that's a great phase to be in because you're learning everything that requires, you're in control of everything that requires, and it's on you. But as you begin to scale, you can't keep wearing all those hats. You have to find people that you can trust as you're scaling out. And your time, the time of the owner, is one of the most valuable pieces that you just can't give to everybody. As you continue to scale, you have to set time aside, not just in fulfillment of the business, but working on your actual business. Being up in that crow's nest that we talk about all the time, being up there so that you can see a vision for where your company's heading. You have to be able to set yourself up to do that. And so having systems in place that are automating some customer service, having systems in place that are really making it easy to do invoices, to do project management, that's stuff that technology can really afford you. And that's what we're looking at him. He came in and was like, hey, I need a website. And we began to ask questions and learn about his company and learn about what's actually going on in his business. And we're like, yeah, a website's fine, but you really need an infrastructure. Like, you need a sales process, a project management, an invoicing tool, like for accounting, for payroll, for everything. Like, if you could just continue to scale and you walk into your CPA at the end of the year, which he admitted his CPA is like, he hates me, which I love. But you walk into your CPA with just a bag full of receipts and paper and tell them to sort it out. It's just costing you time, effort, and money. And you're not going to know what kind of a tax situation you're going to be in if you miss payroll, documentation. There are way too many hats to be an expert at for you to just carry them all as a business owner. You have to find experts in their specific niches and pay them for their expertise so that you don't have to take that on yourself.
Right. Totally. Like, I don't know. There's definitely a balance to it also. Like, I don't think that we're saying that you should automate everything within your business, because there's plenty of things that you should never, ever automate. Like, I don't think that you should ever automate, like your sales calls. I don't think that you should automate, your customer service. I think that's always like a bad feel for your customer base. Like, they don't want to interact with a robot. They don't want to chatbot, whatever it is. Like, they don't want to deal with that you want that human connection, because a human is going to be able to like really carry your brand and the personification of your company that, a robot's not going to be able to do. But I don't know. So maybe we should talk about, like, what should you automate in your companies and what shouldn't you automate in your companies?
Yeah, I think it's a really good clarification. When I was saying to automate customer service, what I'm talking about is, on a website, if someone fills out a form, having an automatic email response touch point to let them know, hey, we've received this. Here's a link to my calendar, giving them a call to action that's not dependent upon me having to quickly get in touch with them. For a lot of our businesses that we interact with, the time to touch point and them feeling like they have somebody who's reached out to them, that they feel like they have someone that's moving the process forward for them, that will stop that customer from continuing their journey of trying to find a competitor, right? To trying to find someone who will help them. So if I have a plumbing issue and my toilet is overflowing right now and I call a plumber and I hear nothing, or I fill out a website form and I hear nothing, I'm going to keep going until I find somebody that's willing to come out. I'm going to keep going because I have a hair on fire issue and I need a response. I need a plan. I need an answer. I need to feel like I'm taken care of. And so what I would say is automating that front end side. When I say customer service, what I'm really meaning is getting them access to you to make a decision. And so for Monsoon, we have a form submission that happens on our website.
Right.
And this is one of my favorite automations that we do, to be honest, is that we have a form submission on our site. People fill out a form. They want to work with us. We get data from them. It sends them an immediate email saying, hey, I'm going to reach out to you within 24 hours.
Right.
That's my commitment to them. I'm going to definitely human touch, call you, let you know we're excited to work with you, hear more about your project. But in the meantime, if you want to keep this moving forward, here's a link to my calendar. And they can immediately click that and schedule a meeting with me without me having to go back and forth with 4 different emails. Hey, how's Tuesday work for you? That Thursday didn't work really well for me. My kid has a soccer game. And you're 4 to 5 emails deep. And now you're 2 weeks into the conversation and you're still just trying to schedule the thing. So bypassing all of that, that's not a fun experience. Nobody likes doing that. And all I do is I blocked out time in my calendar saying this is time for meetings. And I let customers pick a time that works for them out of my work week. And so it immediately gives them the feeling of, I have a meeting scheduled. And that will stop that client from needing to continue trying to find someone to help them with their website, with their logo, with their marketing, whatever they're looking for. It's one of my favorite automations. Now, I would never automate my phone calls. I would never automate that relationship. I would never automate our discovery meetings or our branding exercises. Like, I don't want to automate these moments that are building expertise. They're building rapport. They're building relationship. We're able to see each other, hear each other. Like, that is huge. It's crucial for you to be able to showcase your passion in your industry, your knowledge in your industry. It's massive. I would never automate the human touch points, but there's a fine balance between making sure they feel that knowledge and expertise and trying to do everything manually. There are things that don't move the needle. It's the law of diminishing returns, right? That I just want to focus on the things that are going to move the needle and build relationship and show our expertise. And scheduling a meeting is not that. Like, scheduling a meeting doesn't do that. So let's actually separate out what are the tedious things that are taking up so much of my time, like invoicing, like other stuff that I can automate, and what are the relational building blocks that I'm unwilling to sacrifice on because I think it's so important.
Absolutely. So I don't know, what are some of our favorite platforms for automating things within businesses? Like, for example, like invoicing, right? This guy's spending a ton of time, manually invoicing people. We're a big fan of Wave apps. Mm-hmm. Right. It's basically been our QuickBooks equivalent for, as long as we've been a business, and we love it. We run we run payroll through it. We run invoices through it. It does all of our payment processing. Like, it's fantastic.
Wave apps, especially, it's not going to be a great fit for every single person under the sun, but they do normal invoices. You can pay with a card or through your bank account. When you send it, you just need someone's email. And you build the invoice and sends it out. It does all of our accounting. It'll connect into our business checking account. It pulls every single line item transaction into it, and it allows us to categorize it so that when we hand it to our CPA, we just hand them a PDF at the end of the year that says this is where the money was at, instead of needing to just slam a bundle of receipts on the table, which is great for our CPA. Our CPAs don't hate us because of the fact that we use Wave. But it also handles our payroll as well. But in terms of sending estimates, doing payroll, doing the accounting side of things, Wave Apps is free. And so I think for a lot of small business owners that are just needing an invoicing tool, it's great. I think if you're running e-commerce or you're doing different transactional stuff, if you're a coffee shop or a service industry that has a point of sale system, I think that's when Wave starts to fall off. But if you're, project-based, even recurring revenue-based income, like service provider, I think that Wave can be a really great fit to get you paid. And it's free outside of the transaction fee that they have. That's why we recommend it for a lot of small business owners. I'm a very big fan of finding tools that aren't creating bloat, where you're running a very lean operation and you're not taking on too much overhead that's going to end up crushing your business and drying out your runway that you have to keep this thing going. So Wave is a huge one. But I know the Keep is a really big one that we love talking about. And so you're the Keep master, my man. I'd love to hear you talk about it.
So Keep is spelled Keap. If you're listening to this on audio and you want to check it out, we are Keep certified partners. So if you do look into this and want to snag it, I can get you 2,000 extra contacts free of charge, which is great. But Keep has been huge for our clients and even for our own company. Like, we use it ourselves. It is a CRM, which is a customer relationship manager. And I am very, very passionate about CRMs because I really, really think that your ability to manage your customer relationships is what is going to allow you to scale your company. And it is so hard to just mentally keep up with everyone that you're having a conversation with, where everyone's at in the sales process, what emails have been sent, what does your correspondence look like with these customers. Having having a CRM to all kind of operate as like a second brain is huge, right? So some of the things that Keep can do is it'll be a spot for all the contact information for your leads that are coming in. And those leads, you can put them all into a sales pipeline, and you can customize deal stages and drag these deals through your sales process. So you know where everyone's at, who's been contacted, who couldn't be reached, who converted into a customer, who went with someone else, and you can actually see that data on a sales timeline. It keeps up with all your correspondence, which is wonderful, because let's say that you've your boss is out of town, or your admin's out of town, or whoever's dealing with a lot of the correspondence for a customer is gone on vacation, or an emergency comes up, and you need to see where that customer is at. You can see where they are in the deal pipeline. You can see where their project is. You can see all the correspondence that employee or that boss or whoever was making that person. You can get caught up real fast on, like what they're talking about, because it's got a really great integration with Gmail. So it will check all your company inboxes for all the correspondence with that email address, and it'll actually put them all on that customer's contact page. And then finally, my favorite thing about Keep is that it can actually automate a bunch of these processes. So like what Caleb's talking about, where they fill out our form online, they immediately get an email saying, "Hey, thank you so much for reaching out to Monsoon. We'll be in contact with you within 24 hours. But if you'd like to go directly to our calendar, you can click on this link," and it goes directly into Caleb's calendar. Mm-hmm. So it is wonderful, the things that you can automate and create, and you can just mold this around your company's sales process, your workflows, and you can truly start, automating a bunch of mundane, repetitive tasks that just eat your bandwidth and prevent you from focusing on sales or whatever it is, whatever levers that only you can pull in your company to grow.
Yeah.
So
what I love about Keep too, and what I say to a lot of our clients, is that most businesses operate where their inbox is where their leads go to die. That is the lead graveyard. The reality is, you'll start a conversation, and lots of businesses are really great first touch point, second touch points all the way through a project. But after that project finishes, how many people did we do websites with this last year? How many people did we do logos with this last year? How many people, and taking that same stance with your business, how many if you're a financing company, right? How many equipment financing deals did you do? How many actual full loans or credit applications did you do? Like, your ability to remarket to leads that have already come through, that have had a good relationship with you, to let them know about new services that you have, new things that you're doing inside of your company, is massive. And I think that most people aren't taking advantage of an automated month after touch point email, an automated, hey, it's been a year since we've launched your website. What else do you need help with? Or, hey, it's been a year since we've done business cards for you. Do you need to order more? That kind of stuff and those little touch points, like, it's impossible for me as a business owner to remember everybody's anniversary of working with me, what their wife's name is, how many kids they have. It's impossible for me, even with my best intentions. My brain, I don't know, there's some people that have just got it, mind like a trap. They just remember all that stuff. And I had to realize I was the bottleneck. That was one of my I'm the bottleneck moments. I'm the problem. It's me. I had to remember or have this moment happen when I stopped remembering details that were happening on projects. There were so many projects that were happening as we were scaling up that I couldn't mentally carry everything. And this keep being a second brain is huge because I can go into an actual client. It creates a little profile for them where I can leave notes. You can see communications, and it keeps it all stored in one situation. If they tell me that they have a wife, how their kids are doing, where they're at, I can add those notes in. So when I'm doing a follow-up, or even if a salesperson is doing a follow-up, they can ask them about their wife, their kids, these moments, right? Like, I think that it helps maintain relationships, and it's a giant assist. It's not something that's replacing relationship. It's something that's assisting relationships to where you can maintain scale, but still have that relationship, still have that moment. I do care about it. My brain's just not enough to carry that with 5 kids, with everything else that's going on in my life. My brain's just not enough for it. And I think Keep is massive for that.
Well, our brains they're designed to have ideas, not to retain them, right? That's just not how we're wired as people. One of my favorite hacks with a CRM that people don't consider is reviews, right? It is so difficult to generate good reviews in your business. You can provide the most incredible service imaginable, and the chance that your customer is going to leave you a good review is very small because they're the most motivated to review your company when you've harmed them. It's their way of getting back at you, right?
Human nature. Yep.
Right. So the only way that you get good reviews is to ask for them, right? You have to ask for good reviews. There's no way around it. But we forget. We go through our lead follow-up, we get our sale, we deliver the product or the service, we take care of them, and we move on to the next guy because we want to get paid again, right? But if you add asking for reviews at the end of your sales process, and you make it mandatory, like, hey, the end of the sales process is not, the deliverable, like the deliverable. The end of the sales process is asking for a review and referrals. Like, you would be shocked how much more revenue you'll make. You'll also be shocked how many more reviews you get. So Keep can actually automate deal stages specifically. So when I drag a customer into a deal stage, I can actually have it trigger an automation. So like if as you go into a deal stage, it can send out certain emails or certain texts, or it can put you into a newsletter, or it can do whatever you want it to do for that deal stage.
Highly customizable. Yeah.
Highly customizable. So what I love to do is create sales pipelines with a review automation at the end of it. So when you drag that customer to the end of the pipeline, it will send them an email saying, hey, thank you so much for working with our company. We loved working on your project. We would be honored if you would leave us a review on Google, and you can put a link that goes directly to your Google business page, your Google business listing, right? And they can go and leave the review, and it makes it seamless for them, makes it easy for them to get there and to do that for you, because plenty of your customers will leave you a good review. You just have to ask for it. But if you don't want to call every customer and ask them for that review, you can literally drag and drop that into that deal stage. And I know we were saying, you don't want to automate all of your correspondence. And I agree with that. But I think that automating how you ask for reviews is certainly better than not doing it at all.
I agree. You said this earlier as a point. Humans are only motivated to leave a review when they've had a negative experience.
Right.
Just the way that our brains work is, my client is saying, I paid you money. That's my part. You gave me a website. That's your part. We shake hands. We've done our parts.
Transaction.
They don't realize, exactly, it's a transaction. They don't realize how much a good Google review would benefit your company. Even if they love the work that you did, even if they're going and telling their friends about it and they're raving about it, they don't think to go to Google and leave a review because of how impactful that is to you. And you need to educate and train them. And the best time to ask for that is right at the end when you've delivered it, when they're just so happy. So for us, when we launch a website and they're finally able to see all of that work that went into the website, they're seeing the beautiful video that we shot for them, the photos that are there, and they love just going on the browser and looking at their new website that's live and telling people about it, that's the time. Congratulations. This is the hype moment. We've launched your website. If you wouldn't mind helping us grow Monsoon and leave us a review, that would be incredible. That would mean so much to us. And that's all you're saying. And like 9 times out of 10, they're so happy to do that. They just didn't even think about doing that. And for business owners, please like listen up. This is the number one recommendation that I have that is free. It's free for you to set up your Google My Business page. It's free for you to ask people for reviews. And it's like the most cost-effective way to grow your business that I know of. Like
Absolutely.
It's the most cost-effective way for you to immediately, how much money have you guys invested in your websites? Think about it. How much money have you invested in your logos? How much money have you put into your companies, your truck wraps, everything that's there? And yet if somebody Googles your name, Googles your service, what's showing up is your Google business page first on the right-hand side. It's taking up a giant chunk out of the screen. And they're seeing your reviews. They're seeing your name. So all they're seeing is your name, your industry classification, your reviews. And they're making a judgment call without seeing your logo, without seeing your brand that you spent so much time on, without seeing your website. They're making a judgment call based off of Amazon training our brains to care more about how many reviews, how many 5 stars, how many reviews are there. Go to Google My Business, search up your industry right now, and you make a judgment call, not because you know these companies, but how many reviews and 5 stars are there. Would you call a company that had 2 5-star reviews versus one that had 55-star reviews? Which one would you call first?
Right.
Chances are your company's done 50 jobs worth of people. You just didn't ask. And so getting that edge and just training yourself and training your sales team and building into the process to begin to ask is one of the most beneficial things you can do to grow your company, because those reviews are working for you 24/7. Your sales team are going to go to sleep. They're going to have lives. They're going to go home with their family. Those reviews are working 24/7 at 2 a.m. when a client is looking. They're going to see that review, and it's going to build social proof, and it's going to build trust, and it costs you nothing but the actual time it took to ask.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of other ones. Our project management, right? Once we had enough projects where it was hard to keep up with everything, we started utilizing Monday.com, right? Which is this, it's a project management system that kind of looks like a really robust Excel spreadsheet. It is fantastic. And you can have different boards like for all the different types of projects you've got. So we've got like a web design board, a marketing board. We have a podcast board. We've got, a logo board. And we can put every project we have in there. We can put correspondence with the team. There could be the status of where something's at. So, Caleb is usually more customer facing. So if a customer calls up and says, "Hey, Caleb, where's my logo at?" Or what's the process of the progress on the website? Caleb can at a glance go to Monday.com and see where our development team is with the website, or where our designers are with the brand and the logo. Like, we're able to kind of at a glance see where projects are at. And it also keeps our development team, like all on the same page. Everyone knows where everything's at.
Yeah.
You can.
It's a massive tool for internals. It's a massive tool for internal communication. Yep.
Yeah. We use it for like recording time. So like if you're doing something hourly, you can hit like a play button, and it'll like rack the time up, hit the pause button, and it'll stop the time. So you can see like how much time someone's taken on a task. There's so many ways you can customize it and make it great. They've got a lot of templated options. It's been an absolute godsend for our agency. Another great one that I love, and I'm giving away all the secrets here, but I'm real passionate. I'm just really passionate about it. I really love Zapier. Zapier is probably my favorite tool. And all that Zapier does is it takes different softwares like Wave, Keep, Monday.com, HubSpot, QuickBooks, Gmail, Google Calendar, any of them. It takes any of those softwares, and it actually helps them talk to each other, because not all of these softwares have integrations for each other. Not all of them play nice, but Zapier is like the glue that can get them to do something. So it could be like, when I create a new customer in Keep, send them this invoice in Wave. Or it can be, right. It can be anything and everything. I've got a client that absolutely, he uses Keep as well, but he absolutely hates messing with the CRM. He's very technology like averse. He's just not a fan of it. So I literally say, when a new customer is created in Keep, text the client, hey, you have a new lead in Keep, and then also include that contact information. So he gets a text message with the contact info of the person that filled that form out, and he's able to just click on the phone number and just call them right there, because he receives leads better through text, and he generates 7 figures in sales that way. So it's you're able to, again, utilize platforms like Keep or like Zapier or whatever, and just mold them to your company and make the mundane, medial, crazy tasks that take up all your bandwidth and time super simple, so you can focus on only what you can focus on.
Yeah, I think having Zaps and how customizable it is, I think that what we love is we have tools that we can actually cater specifically to the customer that's sitting in front of us and helping them build out actual infrastructure. Now, granted, all of these tools are only as effective as you actually build systems and you actually adhere to them and you actually begin to use them and put them into practice. You can buy all the best project management, CRM, automation tools, but if you're not actually using them and you still find yourself going back to drink from the old well of your email inbox or paper scheduling or other stuff, like, you have to have time to adopt these things. You have to have leadership to force staff and incentivize staff to use these things to where it actually begins to become a part of the habit. Because these things are only as useful as you actually put time and effort and energy into them. But I love the fact that this is how we run Monsoon. I want other businesses to have tools to succeed. I want other businesses, even competitors that are listening to this right now, go check out Monday, go check out Keep, go check out these things, because I want people to have the tools necessary to actually focus on it. And Travis and I don't feel threatened because we know what Monsoon carries. That's another big piece of it. Y'all, I have such a hard time selling something if I don't have confidence in it being the best. And I think that as business owners, Travis Gibson, Travis Swearengen, and me, the amount of conversations that we have about our services, about how we price things, about how we fulfill things, the amount of time and effort and energy that we essentially dote over our company and how we interact with people gives me such hyper confidence that we're yielding the best product, that we will 100% take care of people and knock it out of the park every single time, because we've gathered the right people, we have the right price points, we have the right processes to make sure that we nail it every single time, and we over deliver on people's expectations. And I think that's why we're so happy to give these tools away, is because I think that even though you're going to hear about these great things, the amount of people that will actually put them into practice and utilize them, I think there's a giant fall off. So we're more than happy to share.
Yeah, you still have to do the work. You still have to provide a better product. You still have to provide a better service. These softwares aren't what make us great. It just helps us with our bandwidth. That's all it is. It allows us to serve more people. So it's good to know about all these.
Yeah, they just help facilitate greatness. They're not what make us great, but they are what allows us to scale without sacrificing relationship. That's my important thing. It's a big conversation point that we have is, man, we're growing, but how do we keep what make the Monsoon magic? How do we keep what makes Monsoon special? What allowed us to get to this point? How do we not sacrifice on that? How do we not start cutting corners just because there's more work? And so these tools help us stay focused to where we can scale and still maintain what makes Monsoon great. It just facilitates greatness. And if you have poor systems or poor products, this will just facilitate those. So you need to be putting the work in on your company as well.
Totally. Like I had a buddy that knew I used to be a HubSpot partner years ago ask me, he's like, oh, I saw you pushing a different CRM software. Like, is this one better than HubSpot? You know, it's like this question of like, well, wait, which CRM should I use? Which calendar should I use? Which note-taking system should I use? Which should I use Wave? Should I use QuickBooks? Like in reality, it's like, that's like asking me like, which hammer should I use? It's like the one you'll swing. Which diet is the best? It's the one you'll adhere to, you know, like at the end of the day, these things aren't going to grow your company for you. They're just going to enable you, you know, to grow your company and to be better and to service more people.
100%.
Absolutely. Well, hey, if you got value out of this episode, we would love for you to share it with a friend. And yeah, stay tuned for episode 15 next week, and we'll see you there.